Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's just dive right in, shall we? Today, we're looking at the unseen infrastructure that's actually powering this explosive new era of autonomous AI. We constantly hear about the magic AI does on the surface, but today, we're going deep underwater. We're going to look at the massive, hidden foundation required to actually make all this work.
So let's start with a really jarring statistic that completely sets the stakes here. 95%.
According to a recent MIT study, that is the staggering percentage of generative AI pilots currently at risk of failing at scale. I mean, just think about that for a second. Almost every single enterprise pouring millions of dollars into these pilots right now is literally staring down the barrel of failure. It really begs the question, right? If this tech is so incredibly smart, why are they hitting a brick wall?
Well, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start by welcoming the agentic era, then we'll contrast agents versus assistants, look at some real-world use cases, uncover the data readiness gap, explore real-time data pipelines, and finally, we'll talk about architecting for autonomy.
All right, Section 1, Welcome to the Agentic Era, moving beyond simple task-based bots.
You see, we have officially moved way past simply completing tasks just a little bit faster. What I found super fascinating in the research is that agentic AI represents this massive, massive leap forward. These systems, they don't just answer isolated questions anymore. They actually understand your business context, they can process text, voice, and video simultaneously, orchestrate complex workflows, and even independently pursue broader goals. Honestly, it's the difference between asking an intern a random trivia question and delegating a massive project to a senior manager.
Moving on to Section 2, Agents versus Assistants. What is the real difference?
What's absolutely fascinating here is the shift in autonomy. An AI assistant is fundamentally reactive. It basically just waits for your command and relies heavily on your supervision. Agents, on the other hand, they have a remarkably high degree of autonomy. They proactively formulate plans, debate ideas, adopt on the fly when situations inevitably change, and they take independent action. So while assistants basically live within a single app to help you type an email a bit faster, agents are connecting to all your enterprise data to drive actual complex operational systems. It's a total game changer.
To really understand how they tick, we have to look at their 4 core components. First up is persona. That's their assigned role, which allows them to maintain a consistent character. Second is memory. And actually, scratch that. It's not just one type of memory. They use short-term memory for immediate chats, long-term for historical context, and even episodic memory to recall past situations. It's kind of like how you remember not to touch a hot stove twice, right? Add to that their tools, which is how they pull APIs or execute code, and finally, the foundational language model acting as their reasoning brain. Put all that together, and you have a highly capable digital worker.
Which brings us to Section 3, Real-World Agent Use Cases. Agents in action across the enterprise.
Looking at the visible tip of the iceberg here, the impact in healthcare is just profound. Agents are out there autonomously investigating massive, highly complex patient data sets to remove heavy administrative burdens. We're talking about completely automating routine tasks like prior authorizations. But they go even further than that. They're actively monitoring patient vitals in real time, proactively flagging potential health risks way before they escalate. And the best part? This gives healthcare providers so much more time to focus on high-touch, personal patient care.
Over in supply chain management, well, traditional AI would just kind of forecast based on past trends, right? But agentic AI acts dynamically. These agents are constantly evaluating global events, weather patterns, and market conditions in real time. They proactively select the most cost-effective suppliers, automate the purchase ordering, and completely prevent those costly stockouts, and they do it all without waiting for a human to hit approve.
And in retail, oh man, agents are entirely reinventing the whole e-commerce experience. They're independently optimizing pricing and inventory levels while giving you this hyper-personalized shopping curation. They can synthesize incredibly complex contexts. Like, imagine an agent cross-referencing your past purchases with tomorrow's rain forecast to instantly recommend the absolute perfect umbrella rather than just endlessly showing you that same blender you literally bought yesterday.
This brings us down to Section 4, the data readiness gap, the hidden catch beneath the surface.
But here is the major pivot, because all of these incredible capabilities we just talked about, they mean absolutely nothing if the data foundation isn't ready. We really have to ask ourselves, why do these brilliant, highly capable agents just hit a total wall when moving from a pilot program to enterprise scale? If they're supposedly so smart, why the 95% failure risk?
Well, it basically comes down to this. A high-performance agent simply starves on bad data.
The very first cause of failure is inaccessible, siloed data that's just locked away in departmental walled gardens. I mean, if your agent is trying to build a unified customer profile, but it can't access both the sales and marketing systems simultaneously, it fails. Second is systemic data bias. If these models learn on skewed data, they just amplify historical risks. That means your agent is going to confidently make bad operational decisions that actually hurt the business. And third is the deployment gap. You see, an AI agent without your unique proprietary business history is really just a generic tool out of the box. It completely lacks the context to give you any real competitive edge.
Okay, Section 5, the real-time data pipeline, engineering the unseen infrastructure. To actually solve this data gap, we have to look at the unsexy but absolutely vital infrastructure, real-time data pipelines. The technical reality of getting fresh data to your models depends heavily on your specific use case. For example, if you're updating a data warehouse, a change data capture platform like already handles automatic schema evolution in mere seconds. But for real-time AI inference, like catching credit card fraud milliseconds before it even happens, you need the sub-millisecond event streaming of something like Redpanda. Or maybe you need the governed, multi-source stream processing of Confluent Cloud. The right infrastructure completely depends on your specific agent, but the fundamental requirement remains exactly the same. The gap between data changed and model acts on it absolutely must be closed.
But here's the thing, real-time pipelines aren't enough on their own. I absolutely love this quote from Dan Meshkov over at Brex. He points out that if the LLM is the engine, the semantic layer is the map. Platforms like Cube ground these agents in a single governed model. Because think about it, without a well-modeled ontology mapping out what your data actually means, your incredibly fast AI agent is just going to confidently execute the completely wrong action. The semantic layer ensures that every single answer and every single action ties back to the exact same trusted business definitions.
Finally, Section 6, Architecting for Autonomy, the blueprint for enterprise scale.
Let's tie this whole shebang together into a real blueprint for success, so you can confidently move your organization out of that 95% pilot failure phase. Google Cloud actually advises that you must transition to an agentic data cloud. This is all about evolving those old, static data foundations into highly dynamic systems of action. It's essentially a unified foundation, purpose-built to power accurate, secure, and autonomous action at a truly massive scale.
Let's break down how this builds into 3 completely non-negotiable requirements. First, it has to be AI native. You need to eliminate all that complex data movement by bringing the AI directly to your data. Second, it must be entirely flexible. Your infrastructure has to allow you to adapt tools and workflows dynamically as things change. And third, it absolutely must be trusted. You literally cannot hand the steering wheel over to autonomous agents without deep end-to-end security, governance, and permissions baked right into the very foundation of your system.
So before you get totally swept up in the hype, before you spend months designing the perfect prompt or the ultimate workflow, ask yourself the really hard question. Is your data actually ready to be trusted with autonomy? Because in this new agentic era, your data foundation isn't just some passive storage locker anymore, it is the steering wheel. If you hand it over today, where exactly is it going to drive your business? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. I really hope this helps you build a smarter, much more scalable future.